Geographers are like a party planning committee. They have themes to get them organized. The difference is that a party can have hundreds of party themes, but geographers only have 5. Today's lesson focuses on these 5 themes, sometimes called categories. Aren't you glad you don't have hundreds? You only need to remember 5. They are location, place, regions, movement, and human environment. These themes, just like a party planner, organize and guide geographers' research. Now let's break it down and look at each area more closely. The first theme is location. Out of the 5, it is the most complicated and has the most new information to understand. So, pay attention. There's a lot to learn in this section. Every point on Earth has a location, a description of where it is. This location can be expressed in many ways, but for this lesson, I want you to focus on the 2 main parts of location, absolute and relative. These 2 terms are how geographers determine location. They are connected in the first theme of location. Now remember, we are looking at the 5 themes of geography. We are currently looking at location, which can be broken down into absolute and relative. Maybe you can think of this one as LAR, location, absolute, and relative, LAR. So, what is absolute and relative? Let's define these. Let's take a deep breath and dive right in. Absolute is like absolutely. It is like an exact address, such as 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue in Washington, D.C. Through latitude and longitude, absolute has these 2 characteristics. You have learned that latitude goes west-east. Longitude goes up and down on the globe, north-south. Now these are important because the latitude and longitude help scientists determine areas. And it's also how your GPS functions. For your maps, it helps you to get around with unfamiliar places. Let's look at a video clip that explains the difference between latitude and longitude, because you will be using latitude and longitude probably your whole life with your GPS.
Imagine that you're flying in a plane. Beautiful skies, amazing views. But how do you know where to go? There aren't any signs floating in the air, right? So how do pilots know where to land their planes? Would you like to find out?
Yeah, I would.
In this lab, we're going to be learning about the invisible lines that help us navigate the world, longitude and latitude. This is a compass. It can tell you which direction you are traveling, north, east, south, west. A good way to remember is to remember the saying, never eat soggy waffles. But just knowing which direction you're going isn't enough to pinpoint a specific place. Look here. Let's say we're here and we want to go to that spot right there. We know we're going east, but how far east? Where do I stop? Is it southeast, northeast? Now imagine you were up in the air and you wanted to find this point. How would you be able to see it?
Yeah, I'm not seeing any dots up here.
That's right. Well, we can help them by drawing some lines to really find that point. Can you picture these lines running all around the Earth? These are called lines of longitude, and they run north and south. But that's not what they're there for.
Hi, Dr. Nagler. It took me all night, but I finally finished hand-making that globe you wanted.
Excellent. Looks good, especially the lines. What do you think these longitude lines tell us? Well, imagine if you could cut through one. Why imagine? Let's do it.
You cut through my globe.
Of course I did, and it cut very nicely. You see, longitude lines run north to south, but they separate east and west. To help identify these lines, we number them. This line is 0 degrees longitude, also known as the prime meridian. Degrees in this case isn't temperature, it's a unit of measure that we tell how far away from the center we are. So we start with 0 degrees and we move away from the center. So this line would be 10 degrees and this one would be 20 degrees and so on. And also notice on the other side of 0, the same thing happens, 10 degrees and 20 degrees. And the way we label these is which side of 0 is east and west. And you'll notice that this point is 10 degrees east and this one is 10 degrees west. So here is our point at 30 degrees east. But is that enough to land our plane? What do you think?
Okay, I'm flying on that longitude, but I don't see the runway. That's not enough information.
That's right. You need to know where on the line our point is. Is it down here? Up here? We need lines going the other way to intersect our lines of longitude. So the longitude lines separate east and west. What do you think these lines will do?
Okay, Dr. Nagler, I was able to make one more globe. Please be careful with this one.
Of course I will. I have safety glasses on.
I need a new job.
You see, I cut laterally to create latitude lines. These lines go from east to west, but they separate north and south. These two halves are called hemispheres, which means half a sphere or half a globe, north and south. Just like the longitude lines, latitude lines are numbered beginning with 0 degrees in the center. This is called the equator. Let's label these lines as we did before, starting with 0 degrees equator and going 10 degrees north and 10 degrees south, away from 0. Now, let's see where our point is. The latitude lines have intersected our longitude lines right at our point. Now we have two lines that cross, and X marks the spot. Our point is 20 degrees north and 30 degrees east. These two numbers are called coordinates. Will that be enough to land the plane?
Okay, I see it. I see the runway.
So did you learn anything useful today?
Yes, I did. I learned that it takes two coordinates to find yourself on the globe. Longitude and latitude.
That's right. Latitude and longitude are invisible lines used for navigation that intersect at specific points. What else did we learn?
I learned not to give you the keys to the chainsaw.
That's not all. Didn't we learn what the two halves of the globe are called?
Hemispheres.
And what does hemisphere mean?
Half of a globe.
That's right. And remember, the point where the hemispheres meet is labeled 0 degrees, and we start numbering there in both directions. Now that we've learned how longitude and latitude work, you're going to find some points on the globe itself.
All right. Whew. Let's get back to our presentation here. We made it. Okay, so we finished up with the first theme of geography. Remember I said that one was probably the most difficult. So we made it through that. That's the really hard part. So we're done. Relative location is more of a general description. So we've done absolute. Now we're down to the relative part of location. So we're done with the hard part. We're just going to finish up with relative. So the relative location is more like a general description, like going to Hogwarts. So Hogwarts is north of London. So think of relative location like you're asking where the bathroom is. And the gas station cashier just points and says, that way. It's not a precise location. It gives you a general idea. That's it on relative. Much easier than the absolute. Number 2, let's go down to number 2 on the themes of geography. Place. This one is pretty straightforward. It is what you learned in your lesson yesterday. Place describes the landscape, so features such as land, climate, and the people. That's it. Told you number 1 was a lot more difficult. Let's move on to number 3. Number 3, themes of geographers is regions. You learned this in your lesson yesterday also, so hopefully you remember it just a little bit. A region is when a geographer looks at a part of the world that has one or more things in common, such as the east and west coasts of the U.S. They both have oceans, but the Atlantic is a very different ocean than the Pacific. They both have oceans, that's in common, but the geographers look at the differences. A geographer may compare the seaside towns of New York and San Francisco to compare trends and things that are happening. People are constantly moving. They move within cities, between towns, between countries. Movement is when geographers want to know the why and the how people move. They use this movement information as a means to study roads and routes and what construction areas you may need to know in the future. And finally, human-environment interaction. That's number 5 of the themes of geography. Geographers want to know how people interact with their environment. They look at how the people and their environment affect each other. Sometimes it's not a happy, happy, joy, joy thing. Climate change and pollution are key areas many geographers study. They use a specific tool to do this called a satellite image. By analyzing satellite images, geographers can locate problems and try to help the government and its people solve those problems. Let's look at examples. Take a look at this satellite image. The image is of a glacier in Greenland. The top is from 1933, and the bottom one, is from 2013. What can you conclude? Next one. This satellite image is of a coastline where the river empties into the ocean. Can you tell what's going on here? What is the problem that geographers would be able to see? Analyze and try to get governments to fix those problems. Did you guess it was river pollution dumping into the ocean? Last one. These are satellite images of Bolivia's second largest lake. The one on the left is from 1986. The one on the right is from 2016. Obviously, it's drying up. But geographers are the ones that would figure out the whys, the hows, and how the impact is on the human environment. Quiz time! Did you pay attention? Make sure you know the 5 themes of geography and their parts. What a satellite image is. and how geographers use these images to help problems in our society. Good luck!